Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is July the 1st, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Today is a better day. It's the first of the month. There's that. Obviously, we have a little bit of catching up to do. Some updates happened on, from yesterday in my personal life. So we'll get into that. But yeah, I woke up and, of course, like one of the first things I did was like, oh, how's my wrist? How's my hand? Still in pain. Still not doing the greatest. I will say, kind of fast forwarding a bit ahead, as the day went on, it's gotten better. So as the day has gone on, it's gotten better. Still hurts though. Still not 100%. My guess is I have like a light sprain, something to that effect. But overall, we were able to get through the day okay with it. So I'm happy that we have some improvement from yesterday. We'll take that. We'll chalk it up. Even though that's on me. That was a self-inflicted thing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so we woke up with that, and I'm like, okay. Also, I immediately knew that I needed to do a bit of extra morning stuff, and I was going to be late for work because I needed to go to the gas station and pick up some more ice. So we went and we did that. So we got some more ice for the cooler. We swapped it all out. Um, Things were more or less holding up, at least the remaining things I was able to save. So that was good. We went to work. As I was working, I think around my first break, I went and I called my landlord and I said, hey, so, what's the update? And of course, like classic landlord, they're like, "Oh, I don't know." They're like, "I don't know. I'll go check. I'll call them and I'll I don't even think they even said they were gonna get back to me, but I knew they weren't. And I was like, okay, well, they're on it. That's all I can really ask for. Hopefully, I'm gonna get my refrigerator. Let's just get through the day. Despite the pain, overall work was good. It wasn't too busy, so that helped out a lot. Like I said, the first part of the day, I was really just favoring my left side, just not trying to work my right arm or my right hand too much because it was just like owie, owie, owie. But as the day kind of got gone on, I felt a little bit better, felt a little less pain, so that was good. I want to say around my lunch break, which I take a little bit later in the day, it was around 3. I called again and I said, hey, am I going to need to pick up some more ice for tonight? And the landlord was like, no, you're good. You're fine. They put in a new one, a new refrigerator. And I was like, okay, thank you. Thank you. So that was good. Um, Finished out the rest of my workday. I know I just said I had a pretty much a sprained wrist, but I was like, yep, I'm going to the gym. Time to go to the gym now. Overall, the gym was good. I will say, definitely, that's where I was paying for it the most, in terms of my mistake from yesterday, my little temper tantrum, because it definitely is affecting my workouts this week, and that's a bit of a bummer now. But overall, we were able to get through them. I will say, I don't know if it was just because my lack of energy or the wrist, and I was just kind of, whatever. My cardio actually kind of suffered a little bit. I didn't hit it as hard as I usually do, as I would have liked. But overall, a good session overall. We take those. After the gym, we went to the grocery store so I could pick up some more groceries, kind of resupply, if you will. Nothing too much. It wasn't too crazy of a grocery, bill, so I'll take it. That being said, I didn't like the setback, but it also kind of comes with the whole thing where I was just like, Isaiah, you freaked out so much. You were so upset about the situation. You were just in like the darkest depths about it when really you knew that like you were going to find a way to get through it. You always do. And there was no need to lash out like that. There's no need to freak out like that. So, you know, I'm really hoping that that's my takeaway from this lesson and that really sticks. And if and when something like this comes up again, I handle it a lot better because, I'm 34 years old. I have no need, no business for carrying on like that, even if it's just amongst myself, by myself. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so silly. But yeah, so we get the groceries, we get home, and I check this new refrigerator. You know, that was like the first thing I did. Also, I love this classic landlord fashion. I don't know if it was new or used. Definitely like a dented situation of some sort. I think they picked it up from like the Lowe's or something like that. So some kind of like either refurb model, whatever the fuck, little scrape and dent, whatever. I don't care. It works. I will say it's a little wobbly. I'm trying to like offset that with like some kind of cardboard or something currently. I don't know. But hey, it's holding all the food and it's keeping it nice and cold. That's all I care about. So, you know, it was nice to kind of have the balance restored. At this point, like I said, my wrist is feeling a bit better. It's not an all-consuming pain at this point. So, you know, it's kind of what I expected when I had the lash out, freak out that I did. And that being said, you know, I want to try to avoid this kind of shit. I don't want to, like, because if that really was the worst part of my day, it turned out it wasn't the refrigerator thing. It was me fucking freaking out and busting my hand. Like, that was so dumb. So, yeah. That's really all I got, though, for the personal news. You know, I feel like we're good to leave that there. So let's go ahead and do our startup, and we can go and get into some news. Oh, actually, let me put this down. Before I do this, let me, since it is the first of the month, let's do the newsy roll call. I always call it out, and then on the day, of course, I'm like, oh, same old same. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's run it down. All right, from the top, Stephanie Renee, Edward Haas, Mama Bear, Aaron Walden, Fu Nguyen, and, our anonymous newsie currently. And maybe there's more. Who knows? Maybe there's so many. Who knows? You know, it's anonymous. But yeah, thank you so much to all of you. I appreciate you guys so much, guys and gals, MBs, everybody. It really does mean a lot that you take your support to that next level. Just, you know, because you like me, you like what I do, whatever it is. It really does mean a lot. I can't stress that enough. I know that this little roll call is a very meager, minor thing. I'm not really putting up much on the extras. But yeah, I just, you know, I'm bowing to my microphone right now. Thank you. Heart emojis. Okay. Now, let's do the startup and let's get into some news. Ooh-wee. Okie dokie. Artichoke. Our first story comes from the BBC News. U.S. Senate Republicans narrowly passed Trump's big, beautiful bill. So the BBW has been passed along by the U.S. Senate. It is now going to get kicked back down to the House, where my guess is it will be approved. I know media is kind of being like, well, we don't know that yet, you know. There's definitely some people who have some contention towards this bill. They don't like it, but they kicked it up, you know, kind of saying, hey, we'll see what the tweaks are and then we'll go from there, yada, yada, yada. But I think with the hard deadline that Donald Trump has put on, even though it is an artificial manufactured thing, they could just fucking ignore that. I think they're going to abide by that and just kick this thing along, kick it all the way back up to big old Donald Trump, and he's going to sign this fucking big, beautiful bitch. So it just kind of is what it is. I know we kind of talked about this a couple of times, you know, throughout. So let's go ahead and get back into it. After hours of stalemate, Republicans in the U.S. Senate have narrowly passed Donald Trump's mega bill on tax and spending, meaning the proposed legislation has cleared one of its key hurdles. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed with Vice President J.D. Vance casting a tie-breaking vote, excuse me, after more than 24 hours of debate. It now heads back to the House, or lower chamber, where it still faces more opposition. An earlier version was cleared by the House Republicans by a single vote margin. It's also worth noting that obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but Senate has made some changes, just like some shit off top, like with the tips and stuff like that. They're supposed to have like tax exemptions. Well, that's sort of a thing, but not fully. Also, same thing with like Social Security stuff, like. So there's definitely changes throughout the bill. It's not exactly the same as when the House sent it up. So, I mean, once again, there is a chance that that's just enough where it's like, okay, now I like Donald Trump be damned. I don't give a shit. MAGA, fuck it. I don't like this. I don't like this bill. I'm against it. But I highly doubt that. I think a lot of these motherfucking Republicans are scared. And or it's just the same kind of situation as we have with like the fucking Democrats in Congress, where they do this whole fucking show and they run around and they act like they're fucking doing something for like a week maybe, and then they're like, okay, that's my job, I'm gonna go on vacation now, bye. Like, one way or another, they wind up doing the thing that fucks American people. That winds up fucking their constituents, and they just go back to their fucking days. So in that regard, like, I think was it Lisa Murkowski of Arizona, or not Arizona, goddamn, it might be Alaska, whatever. She was like a person who was on the fence. It was Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski. I think she wanted a provision, and they had like this whole vote-a-rama thing that technically I think the Democrats were going to try to use to like stall, but also Republicans were using to like try to make amendments to the bill and vote on them then and there, and then kind of, put them in, keep them out, whatever. And I think Lisa Murkowski, if I'm not mistaken, wanted to put in some provision to like kind of help out rural communities and peoples and shit, and that got shot down. And she was like, well, I don't know, maybe I'm really not for this. But of course, what does she do? She votes for it. Like, and then she kind of uses the feeble excuse of, well, I hope that the House, sees all of these changes, or like sees that this isn't a good bill, and then they do something. And it's like, that's what they did when they kicked it up to you. Like, what are we doing here? Like, once again, this is the show shit I'm trying to talk about, where it's like they're just kind of doing this for flash and no fucking gas. They don't give a fuck about you. They only give a fuck about their perception. They do not want the MAGA movement to come after them. They do not want to have a Donald Trump fucking post on his Truth app against them. They just don't want it, dude. So at the end of the day, they fucking folded. I'm not surprised to see this. I'm also not surprised to see that the Democrats didn't do anything realistic or like good. They didn't fucking slow anything down, really. They just wasted their fucking time. They wasted everyone's time. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said before, I've kind of just made a quick summary of it where it's like, look, the rich are going to get richer off of this shit. They're only going to get more tax exemptions. That's going to get masqueraded as like, yeah, everyone's getting tax exemptions. Everything is just going to be so much better in that regard. But then really what's happening on top of that is also social spending, the spending that's going to go to the actual people. Well, that's getting cut. Your Medicaid, shit like that. We're tweaking that a bit. Oh, and of course we're doing it so we can stop fraud and all this and that. But no, really, we're just fucking taking money away from you and giving it to, once again, people who don't fucking need it. Just these rich corporations, these rich entities, these rich people, whatever, and they get to get the kickbacks. Good for them. Donald Trump did right by them. He's fucking you with this big, beautiful fucking bill. So, it just is what it is. And I mean, what is this? This over 900 fucking pages of bullshit. This thing is bloated. It's fat as fuck. Like, I hate to agree with Elon Musk, but yeah, he's right about that shit for sure. And speaking of Elon Musk, he chirped up talking like he was gonna go headhunting for like Republicans who voted for this shit in the primaries. Like, he's gonna do some shit, which of course reignited the row between him and Trump. Trump's like, hey, I mean, shit, Doge might have to come back and eat him. They're talking about deporting him. Which I'm like, hell yeah, dude, go for it. Get his fucking ass back to South Africa so he can fucking talk his shit from there. I would love that. That'd be so fucking funny. Or wherever he wants to go. He's the fucking richest man in the world. He can go wherever the fuck he wants. But yeah, they might kick him out of here. I highly doubt that. I think at the end of the day, they are going to find a way to play ball. I think Musk just wants to cry about this shit for one reason or another. I've heard some people like say, "Oh, he's not doing this over the EV tax credit shit that's getting hit in this bill, because that's a part of this big beautiful bitch." But I think that that's a relevant thing. I think it's definitely very relevant. One way or another, from one company or another, where we're talking Tesla, we're talking SpaceX, wherever, he's gotten a fucking kickback, dude. Like, I think it's so weird that people are talking like he's some fucking savvy businessman and he doesn't give a shit about that. He's like actually based on this issue. Bullshit. I don't believe it. I just don't. So, I mean, Tomato Town for all of these motherfucking people. I don't give a shit. But I do feel like, yes, once again, this bill is just so huge. It is so audacious that he was able to actually pull this off. I mean, I know I'm kind of counting the chicken before it hatches, but I really did think that it's like, man, you are wasting your time on this bill when you could have split it up into like thirds and like just spent your 4 years doing this and like knocking it off milestone to milestone to milestone and then just having that. But it's like, once again, Trump doesn't have to do that. He can just defy reality. It just doesn't matter, dude. At the end of the day, he has the motherfucking, pieces in play to get what he wants. So he's going to fucking get it. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to riff on that. I know we're not officially done with it. I know, like, once again, it has to go to the House and then it's going to get kicked all the way back up. And, eventually DJT is going to sign it. But I do think that's how it's going to go. I don't think we're going to see any big surprises, but we will come back to it if so. If not, I'll probably just let it rock. I really don't want to fucking dwell on it too much. So yeah, let's move on to Turkey. We've got a couple stories out of there that popped off today. From the Associated Press, Turkey detains 120 opposition officials, including former mayor. Turkish authorities on Tuesday detained a former mayor and dozens of municipality officials in the western city of Izmir over alleged corruption, extending a crackdown against the country's main opposition party. Police detained 120 officials from the opposition Republican People's Party, or CHP, including former Izmir mayor Tunç Soyer and the party's provincial leader Sinal Asanoglu. State-run Anadolu agency said. In total, the Izmir Public Prosecutor's Office issued arrest warrants against 157 people as part of an investigation into alleged rigging of municipality tenders and fraud, it added. Officials from CHP-controlled municipalities in Istanbul and elsewhere have faced waves of arrests this year, including Istanbul's mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, who was arrested in March over allegations of corruption. His arrest triggered the largest street protests Turkey has seen in more than a decade. Also, it's worth noting, too, that they stripped him of his degree, like his collegiate degree, because you have to have that in order to run for office. So, I mean, this is just an extension, it seems, of, Recep Tayyip Erdogan's crackdown on any kind of opposition. Once again, this is supposed to be a democracy. But, I mean, not if fucking Erdogan has anything to say about it. It seems like he is kneecapping that at every avenue to try to make sure that he has monopolized power and he just gets to just stay in it. You know what I mean? Like, he's just going to be in this shit for forever. Once again, democracy. Put that in fucking quotations. It's unfortunate. It's definitely a bummer. You don't like to see crackdowns like this, power exerted like this from up top. I don't see any good that can come of shit like this. So it's definitely a bummer to see. But I'm not surprised. Erdogan, he's a mover. He's a shaker. That's for sure. He does not stop. He does not play. He is going to keep his as long as he can. I honestly feel like they'd have to overthrow that motherfucker. Like, I don't think there's any kind of situation where you're outmaneuvering him, it seems. Because at every point that I've covered and seen on this shit, he's just one step ahead. Or he's just the guy who's going to be willing to push harder. It doesn't matter whether the law allows that or not. He's going to make sure it happens. You know what I mean? Goddamn. Once again, kind of like Trump in that way, where he's like, I'm going to defy reality. If anything, more so. You know, I mean, Trump had a January 6th thing, of course, but once again, he lost power. He fell out of power. Erdogan has just been rocking this fucking shit. You know what I mean? Goddamn, he's just staying stable. I mean, shit, he's even trying to like fucking end conflict so he can stay in power. It's so crazy to me. Anyway, like I said, we have more in Turkey, so here's a little bit of a part two. From BBC. Turkey arrests journalists over alleged cartoon of Prophet Muhammad. Now, hopefully I don't catch shit for this thumbnail, because I did put the comic strip in the thumbnail. I feel like you have to see it to at least understand it, because I didn't understand what the fuck it was until I saw the thing. Obviously, I don't know Turkish or anything like that, so, I didn't know what it was saying, but, obviously with the article, it just kind of helped, and it gave me the visualization, so I was like, fuck it, send it, let's just put it on there, and, we'll go from there. But let's get into it. 4 employees of a satirical magazine in Turkey have been arrested for publishing a cartoon that appears to show the Prophet Muhammad, a sacred religious figure whose depiction is forbidden in Islam. Turkey's Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya condemned Le Mans magazine for Le Mans magazine's drawings as shameless, announcing that its editor-in-chief, graphic designer, institutional director, and cartoonist had been detained. Le Mans denied its cartoon was a caricature of Muhammad, writing on X that the work does not refer to the Prophet Muhammad in any way, which we're going to get to on that, because I have thoughts. Riot police were deployed in Istanbul on Monday as hundreds of people protested against the publication. Protesters gathered outside Le Mans offices, chanting slogans such as "Tooth for tooth," "Blood for blood," "Revenge, revenge." Bro, I'm sorry, that's always a crazy reaction to me when we're talking about fucking art. Like we're talking about a satirical fucking little picture. Like, whether it's good, bad, evil, righteous, whatever. Like, that is such a just visceral reaction to me that I kind of never understand. And don't get me wrong, you could show me some fucked up shit and I would be like, goddamn, and especially if it was in a publication, be like, how did we get here on that? But once again, am I gonna like incite violence? Am I gonna like move to try to kill someone? Me personally, no. I'm just gonna fucking scroll forward or just fucking move along. I'm obviously not gonna buy it. I don't know. Anyway, a correspondent from the news agency France Presse, or AFP, reported seeing rubber bullets and tear gas being fired to disperse the crowd. Turkey's justice minister said an investigation had been initiated by the chief public prosecutor's office for publicly insulting religious values. The caricature or any form of visual representation of our prophet not only harms our religious values, but also damages societal peace. Yilmaz Tunç wrote on X. Necessary legal steps will be taken without delay against Le Mans journalists, he added. Which I'm more fine with that. Like, if you want to take the legal route and you can kind of go through that country's legal means to, like, get your compensation, recompense, justice, whatever, that's fine. Like, because once again, you're saying blood for blood. This article, this image did not hurt you. What do you mean? It just feels out of pocket. But anyway, I want to get to a description of it. So, images of the cartoon have appeared on social media, which show 2 characters with wings floating in the sky over a city under siege. One of the characters is pictured saying, peace be upon you, I Muhammad. And the other replying, peace be upon you, I'm Musa. Musa is the Turkish for Moses. So essentially it is Muhammad and Moses just in the sky being like, yo, man, like, peace to you. And then there's these missiles and shit raining down on the city. So I need to say here, that sounds like Muhammad is being pictured in the thing. You could go, okay, the guy on the left, that's Muhammad, right? And the guy on the right, that's Moses or Musa, if you will. Oh, okay. These are the characters in the fucking, piece, right? So it seems weird to be on that axis of like, no, we didn't actually portray Muhammad. You literally did. So you did do it. I just gotta say, you gotta stand on business. You don't get to like make the thing. Like if you make the thing and then you blot out his face or you don't say the name, then like okay, maybe you could get away with that statement. But clearly you did say that's Muhammad. You drew Muhammad. I just wanted to say that for the record though. The cartoonist wanted to portray the righteousness of the oppressed Muslim people by depicting a Muslim killed by Israel, and he never intended to insult religious values, it said in a statement on X. Also, I gotta add, this is one of those like satirical, makes you think kind of ones. I don't like those, if I'm being honest. I like when my satire is just funny. And I think I've said this before. I know I've said this before. I'm not the biggest fan of satire. I'm just fucking not. Like, say what you fucking need to say, goddammit. Don't try to be cryptic or coy or whatever. Just fucking be straight. Shoot straight. Be blunt. I don't like when motherfuckers try to play games. Because then you get these kind of moments where they try to be weaselly and be like, I didn't say that. I didn't do that. It's satire. Get over it. Like, no. Stand on fucking business. Clock in. Stand on it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I didn't say this shit before about Mark Twain. Anyway. Let's see. We do not accept the stain that is cast on us because there's no depiction of our prophet. You have to be very malicious to interpret the cartoon in this way. No, the fuck you don't. That is where I'm against the publication on this. This is where I'm not standing with LeMan. It's like, look, I think it's fine that you guys made this thing. I think you should be allowed to do it. I don't think people should be coming for you blood for blood, if you will. There should be no revenge here. But you did do it. Don't fucking half-step here. You did the thing. You made Muhammad a picture, and you're just not supposed to do that, technically. So, like, I don't know. You kind of have to accept that. I don't like that part of it. But once again, I do feel like they should be allowed to make it, if that makes sense. I don't feel like that there should be like some kind of fatwa on their head. Obviously, there isn't an actual fatwa, but like, you know what I'm saying? You know, shouldn't be that blood for blood, revenge shit. But yeah, this is also important. I sometimes I do recaps, sometimes I don't. I would say I think a big reason why this is like such a thing, why it is making some headlines, is because this has happened before and it did have very bad outcomes. Let's see. Le Man's editor-in-chief, Tunke Agun, who is currently in Paris, told AFP the work has been misinterpreted and the magazine would never take such a risk. Essentially insulting Muhammad, picturing Muhammad. He added that the backlash draws similarities with Charlie Hebdo, which is a very intentional and very worrying reference, is very intentional and very worrying, referencing the 2015 attack on the French satirical magazine after it published a caricature of the Prophet Muhammad. Charlie Hebdo's offices were stormed by gunmen who killed 12 people and was one of the worst security crises in France's history. So I do think that that's something all satirical, all news outlets, whatever, are trying to avoid. They do not want to have a situation where people are coming to kill them, right? You never want to be in that. But also, then you did make this, so I don't know what to tell you, dog. You kind of knew you were going to get some kind of smoke in that regard. I'll defend your right to make it, but goddamn, like, try to be like, no, we didn't do that. We ain't do that. We ain't actually draw him. You did draw him. Anyway, I'll keep posted on anything that kind of comes out of either of those stories out of Turkey. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. We got to go to Mexico. A little bit of cartel action. Pretty gruesome cartel action, I will say. I don't normally, I leave the trigger warnings aside, but we are about to talk about bodies on top of bodies. Anyway, I'll say that much. From NPR, cartel violence in Sinaloa, Mexico leaves 20 dead, including 4 decapitated bodies. 4 decapitated bodies were found hanging from a bridge in the capital of western Mexico's Sinaloa state on Monday, part of a surge of cartel violence that killed 20 people in less than a day, authorities said. A bloody war for control between 2 factions of the powerful Sinaloa cartel has turned the city of Culiacan into an epicenter of cartel violence since the conflict exploded last year between the 2 groups, Los Chapitos and Las Maiza. We're going to say Maiza? We're going to say Maiza. La Maiza. Dead bodies appear scattered across Culiacan on a daily basis, Homes are riddled with bullets. Businesses shutter and schools regularly close down during waves of violence. Masked young men on motorcycles watch over the main avenues of the city. On Monday, Sinaloa state prosecutors said that 4 bodies were found dangling from the freeway bridge leading out of the city, their heads in a nearby plastic bag. On the same highway Monday, officials said they found 16 more male victims with gunshot wounds packed into a white van, one of whom was decapitated. Authorities said the bodies were left with a note, apparently from one of the cartel factions, though the note's contents were not immediately disclosed. Things are definitely heating up in Mexico. Definitely unfortunate. Condolences to all the people involved in that shit. I know that is a constant thing. Definitely sad to hear about. But I did want to at least cover that because initially I saw this in the Daily Mail, and they kind of poorly censored it a little bit. And I was like, ooh, that's pretty gruesome. But I knew, I'm like, hey, that is a big development coming out of Sinaloa. So I was like, all right, let's just go there. Let's just talk about it. Anyway, we're going to move on to our last story. It is a bit lighter. We're going to be talking about some fraud, a little bit less intense there. But let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. Sorry for the wait. Okay. From the Associated Press, more than 300 charged in $14.6 billion healthcare fraud schemes takedown, Justice Department says. State and federal prosecutors have charged more than 320 people and uncovered nearly $15 billion in false claims in what they described Monday as the largest coordinated takedown of healthcare fraud schemes in Justice Department history. Law enforcement seized more than $245 million in cash, luxury vehicles, cryptocurrency, and other assets as prosecutors warned of a growing push by transnational criminal networks to exploit the U.S. healthcare system. As part of the sweeping crackdown, officials identified perpetrators based in Russia, Eastern Europe, Pakistan, and other countries. The alleged $14.6 billion in fraud is more than twice the previous record in the Justice Department's annual healthcare fraud crackdown. It includes nearly 190 federal cases and more than 90 state cases that have been charged or unsealed since June 9th. Nearly 100 licensed medical professionals were charged, including 25 doctors, and the government reported $2.9 billion in annual losses. Among the cases is a $10 billion urinary catheter scheme that authorities say highlights the increasingly sophisticated methods used by transnational criminal organizations. Authorities say the group behind the scheme used foreign straw owners to secretly buy up dozens of medical supply companies and then use stolen identities and confidential health data to file fake Medicare claims. See, now this is the kind of shit, and also it was called Operation Gold Rush or whatever, something like that. Anyway, or at least that's one of the things that are kind of going down here in this whole dragnet. This is the kind of shit that the Department of Justice is doing. I'm fine with. You know what I mean? At least this makes sense when you're talking about fraud and schemes and scams that you want to try to crack down on that are good for the American people. The problem is you have Doge, which they're saying is doing the same fucking thing, when really you're just deleting people's jobs. You're just fucking doing, America a disservice, actually. If it was more shit like this, I'd be okay with it. I'd be like, all right, I'm understanding. So yeah, I wanted to go ahead and cover that. I mean, I guess it's fine news. It's whatever. A thing I forgot to cover, and it literally just popped into my head just now. The Trump administration, Donald Trump, signed an executive order lifting, I believe, some of the sanctions in Syria. So that's big. That's something we talked about, I believe, March, May, something to that effect. Probably May. Correct me if I'm wrong, whatever. But him lifting that is a big deal for Syria. I've talked before about how sanctions almost never affect the top class or echelon of people that they're trying to hit to try to, like, quote unquote destabilize the country and try to get them to do what they want, to be more compliant, to stop bad actions, whatever. You are oftentimes just dooming the people of that country to a more miserable existence, a harder existence that they have to now overcome. And inevitably, the nation state as a whole will just wiggle around. They will just make it work to stay alive, to survive. And you don't wind up accomplishing the thing that you were trying to accomplish with the damn sanctions in the first place. So I'm happy to see anytime an administration says, hey, this isn't useful. Also, I like, too, that, like, Donald Trump even referenced, like, that was one of the things that he got applause for when he went on his little Middle Eastern tour, trying to get props, trying to get, like, new planes and shit. Like, when he mentioned that he was going to lift the sanctions, people were, like, clapping and, like, actually stoked. And he liked that. But he's not dumb. He's like, yeah, I got to follow through on that shit. It can't just be bluster. Like, I want to, maintain these, like, relationships. I want to, like, improve and enrich them. So yeah, I got to throw this bone to Syria, at least for now. Like, he might change, course on that. The Trump administration might change, on that. I mean, it's a fucking administration full of hawks. They're down to fucking press anybody and everybody, go to war and blow them up. They don't give a damn. So yeah, that's a little bit of extra news that I wanted to just go ahead and get in now while I remembered it. So there we go. Say a bonus. But yeah, that's it. That's all I really have for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, which we mentioned, of course, at the top. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Why not? Why don't you get on the next roll call? You know what I mean? Why not? Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's a free action. Helps out the podcast. Keeps you up with the Joneses, of course. Follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you like. I'm there. At least I should be there. And if I'm not, why don't you hit me up and say, hey, get on this platform, and I'll try. Why not? But yeah, let's see here. Leave a like, leave a cool comment, leave a nice, cool comment. We love those. Sharing is caring. It can be fun. You don't have to. I just appreciate you listening. That's always cool. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.